Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Vicarious Vision. I'm Melanie Santos Stefano of Vicarious Multimedia, along with my co-host, Eddie Polanzani. Eddie. Today, we are going to be talking with, I'm really excited to be talking with Michelle Rushing. She is a Palatine resident and also a residential realtor for Berkshire Hathaway Starck Home Services. So, Michelle, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Michelle, real quick before we get into talking about COVID-19 and everything that's been going on with that and how that has affected, your business, why don't you just give us some background about Berkshire Hathaway Starck Home Services, the range of service they provide, and what it is that you do for them.
So Berkshire Hathaway Starck has been around the Palatine area for, I want to say 65 years, so don't quote me on that, but I know that they've been around for a long time. I've been with them personally for 7 years, and they are a family-owned business. I love working with them. As a broker, I do mostly residential real estate, but I do some commercial real estate as well. I obviously focus mostly on residential. I go everywhere. So my home office is in Palatine, right on Northwest Highway, right next to Baker Square. But I travel about within an hour of the Palatine area on pretty much a daily basis. So I spend a lot of time in my car, which is why I finally got a car that I loved, because I pretty much live in it. Aside from it being a locker room for my children, it is also my second or first home.
Just make sure that there's enough room to take a decent nap if you really are spending as much time in there as you say.
I love naps. I do love naps.
Now, my cousin Janet, I'm real close with her. She's a real estate agent, and she jokes with me. She says, that she's a part-time real estate agent and a part-time therapist because
full-time therapist, part-time realtor.
It makes sense because you're spending a lot of time with people who are making a huge purchase, one of the biggest purchases of their entire life. So would you say that you develop a lot of close relationships with your clients?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the part that I really love about doing what I do, is that I get to just knee-deep dive into everybody's lives because I want to know everything about them when I'm either helping them find a home or sell a home. There's so many little things that you need to ask to know what you're helping them look for, right? Especially when they're purchasing. Do you have children? Is there certain school districts you're looking for? Are you planning on having children? Is this going to be a 5 to 10 year home for you? Is this going to be a forever home for you? Do you have pets? Which my favorite when they have pets is that I get to hang out with pets. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I do spend a lot more time as a therapist, I think, than anything else, just guiding people. It's more of a friendship than anything else.
Nice, very nice. And you mentioned with how busy you are, since how much time you have to spend in your car, that kind of hints as to just how hectic the real estate life can be. And from what I've heard from Melanie, you're also very involved with other aspects of your life. I believe you're a sports mom or something like that.
Yeah, I do volunteering in Palatine. I'm part of PCBS, Palatine Community Baseball and Softball. I'm the vice president of baseball for that organization. Been volunteering with them for about 7 years, and I love it. I've made so many amazing, friendships, and I know so many of Palatine's children now that if we have a carnival ever again, I love going to them because I get Coach Michelle. I can't explain the feeling. If you haven't coached before, I can't explain the feeling that you're always a kid's coach, whether you coached them 5 years ago or you're coaching them currently. It's just a blessing of a situation.
So how do you balance all of that stuff and still keep a productive, positive
good question.
Well, I guess I'm one of those people that is all or nothing, right? So they say if you want something done, give it to a busy person, right? That's what people say to me all the time when they're giving me things, as a matter of fact. I'm more on the go as it is. So the more I'm doing, it's just the more I'm doing. That's just kind of how I work. I've learned to really multitask a bunch of different things at the same time, but I prefer it that way. I don't, it's crazy, but it's something that I brought onto myself, and I enjoy all of it. I don't know if I could have done this, 15 years ago if we didn't have the iPhone with the email and the calendar and everything else to remind you of things. But keeping everything all consolidated into one little device, I think that is why I'm able to do everything I can do.
So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the real estate market and how COVID-19 impacted you. Because when I think about real estate, I think about a realtor walking people around different places and physically being in the same space because it's such a personal experience. So tell us how you worked around it.
That first 2 weeks, I feel like the world was kind of, but especially Illinois, was just kind of on pause. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell to, speaking to my listings or people that were going to list. In my opinion, at that point, I felt like the spring market was just put on hold, because the spring market, actually, the first half of the spring market was only a tiny bit less than all of March, let's say. So the first 2 weeks of March was only a tiny bit less as far as sales volume was concerned than 2019, and that was only with half of March. Wow. Because we were gearing up to have a crazy spring. And I felt like that didn't go away because the interest rates have been really low for people. So their buying power is bigger. My job became harder, definitely a lot harder. There are a lot of the homes that were on the market became temporarily off the market. So they were available, but they didn't want to show because obviously they were scared or they had somebody that was high risk in the home. So those particular places we couldn't show unless I had a buyer. I had one situation where he was dead set on this home, knew this was the home, so I had to beg to get in. We pretty much put on hazmat suits to walk through the thing. We just had to take a lot of precautions. And then for showings, when it would typically, as it is, it takes a little while if you're going to show a few homes, because you want to take the homes, map them out, figure out how much time you're going to spend at each one so that you can make appropriate appointments and you're not giving sellers a 3-hour window where you're asking them to leave the home, right? So in this particular situation, I had to schedule the appointments, map everything out, and then for each home I was showing, fill out a separate COVID disclosure, or have my client fill out a separate COVID disclosure for each home, not for each company, for each and every home. So I had to send it to them, send it through DocuSign, get it back, and then send them off to the realtors that were associated with those properties. And thankfully I was correct, because the market did, as soon as things started to lighten up a little bit, it feels like we're back in full swing spring market.
Good.
Versus what a normal, mid-June would look like right now.
What you're saying is when the market is recovered, potentially just kind of kept moving up because of the lower interest rates. So this is probably a good time to invest if people maybe want to invest in real estate. Would you say?
Yeah, with the interest rates being low, as low as they are, I personally refinanced, at 2.75% for a 30-year.
Wow.
It's just crazy.
That is.
I don't remember seeing rates that low in a very long time. So your buying power is a lot higher, because that's, in essence, depending on, let's say a $400,000 home, that's a few $100 a month difference. So if your debt to income ratio kept you at one point, now with these interest rates, you can buy a little bit more of a property.
So a quick recap, for more information, you can visit, you can actually email Michelle at mrushing@starckre.com. That's STARCKRE.com. So thank you for telling us about the real estate world and how you've kind of made it happen despite all this pandemic nonsense we've been going through.
Before we go, though, just a few more questions.
Oh boy, I'm ready.
Real estate seems to have the stereotype of being super competitive. I'm sure you're aware of this. So, without naming any names, because I don't want to stir up any drama in the real estate circles, Is there anything that any other real estate agents do that just really gets under your skin that you just can't stand? Like
When they lie.
Oh.
And of course the dogs. My husband's just getting home, so the dogs are bark now.
Daddy's home. Daddy's home.
I've had, many people have had clients that stop by an open house, just driving by, pop in, they go in, they tell that agent they have a realtor, but they were just driving by and popped in. And I can't tell you how many times the agent will tell them, well, there are multiple offers on this property, but if you use me as your realtor, I'll make sure you get it. Isn't that awful? I know.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yes. So that I do not like. I think that's easy.
What about haunted houses? Have you ever listed a haunted house or a house that you believe was haunted or someone reported as haunted?
I did have a client call me a month after a closing thinking that her house was haunted.
Really?
This is hilarious. She even ended up having a priest come and light candles and...
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm not kidding.
Did it help? Was it sage? She saged it?
I have no idea. Supposedly everything was fine right after that. I did follow up at that point, but I was kind of, on the fence as I'd been in the house plenty of times. I did look up and see if anybody had died there. The house was just built like 7 years previous to that. So I was showing homes and displays, and a lot of these homes are, 100 years old, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a bunch of a lot of creepy basements there. The unfinished,
That's what mine is. Yeah.
Everything's concrete.
Mm-hmm.
So we go down in the basement, and there's a creepy door with a glass window in the door.
And you heard that noise.
Is that Rizzo or your husband?
No, that was El Mago. That was the big one. And my clients and I opened the creepy door, and the sellers had hung a fake skeleton for right to open the door. I know.
Oh, that would have got me.
I mean, it was hilarious after we stopped having our heart attacks. One other time, there was an attic, a pull-down attic on a home I was showing, and we were like, pull-down attic, cool, let's pull it down and check out the attic. And we pull it down, and they had situated like an Annabelle-type doll.
Oh, hell no!
So you pull it down. Eddie's out.
Nope.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what my client said. Nope.
If you had to sell a haunted house, like it was a house that had the reputation of being haunted, it was like the neighborhood haunted house, what would your strategy be when you had to show that house to people? Would you come right out with it, or what would you do?
Would I come right out with telling people the house was haunted?
Yeah, like, so there's just one catch about this house. It's beautiful in every other way, but you might hear moaning in the middle of the night. What'd you do?
I would probably tell them that the house is said to be haunted. There are many, many people that don't believe in that stuff anyway and say, whatever, that's fine.
We know you love sports. You coach sports all the time. So I'm curious, since you're so involved in sports, you surely must know what Canada's national sport is. Do you happen to know? What?
Hockey.
Eddie?
Bobsledding?
Trick question, Michelle.
Bobsledding.
I was shocked by this too, but apparently it's lacrosse.
Stop it.
Apparently.
Well, I find me somebody that knows that answer up front besides you.
I'll go find my nearest Canadian and let him tell you.
Gosh, I didn't even know that was a Canadian thing.
Awesome. Michelle, thank you for being here. You were great. And please join us for the next Vicarious Vision. We'll see you soon.